Hey there, guys. All right, so I'm back because I want to talk about Rykter season 3 because there are opinions, people are salty. Let's talk about what happened, but I actually want to talk about it in comparison with another show out of Norway called Solo, which honestly deserves a whole season. I have no idea why, Amazon has not marketed the show well at all. And I want to talk about it because I want to talk about what I think the issue is in season 3 of Rykter and what I think Solo did really well, which is the antagonist, right? So let's start a little bit with Solo. Solo is also a young adult series out of Norway. It follows these kids who are in kind of like a Juilliard type of school, like an art school. They all are either musicians or, dancers or singers. And so we follow them through Norway's Juilliard version. And there is a queer love story between Oscar and Milo, and will they, won't they, and they do, but it's a mess. But really, it opens up the season with this character called Isak. And Isak is super brilliant, has a really good ear for music, for production. He has a ton of talent, but he's just kind of out here dancing with the devil because he's got some substance abuse issues and they only escalate over and over again. And he's a really hard, he's a hard character because you want him to win. You really want him to get over the demons that are sort of attached to him, but he's just failing everyone. He's out of control. He's just a mess, antagonizing everyone, just being super hostile, continuously putting himself in situations that are going to get him in trouble. But my issue, and the thing that I love about Solo is that I still want this guy to win. I still feel for him, and I'm man, I really want you to get it together, Isak, because you got talent, dude. You're gonna waste it out here. Unlike, we're gonna talk about Rykter season 3, Felix. I want to just say I'm really happy the actor got an opportunity to show range. My issue is with the writing of this character, and if you see it in comparison to an Isak character in Solo, you'll understand what I mean. You can write an antagonist and give them layers in which you are empathizing with them, but you're also wanting to shake them and be what is wrong with you? What are you doing with your life? And I feel we really failed to do this in season 3 with Felix. We just make him this over-the-top, almost Disney villain-esque character. He is yelling out slurs. He is calling women whores. He literally, filmed his friend having, sex with his girl and was putting it online. He has no boundary. Everyone is up for, everyone's on the chopping block for him. There are no boundaries. And because of this, because we don't really give him that many layers, unlike an Isak where also is doing a bunch of mess, also putting his friends in uncomfortable situations, but there's no layers and no softness to Felix. I feel Felix just is this hard ball, and I think we tried, I think the writers tried to create softness through his family, but it wasn't enough for me. I still don't see it, and I think going through Thea, which is what I think expect season 4 to be, is sort of a mistake because he's kind of been really abusive towards her for a really long time. Similar to once again, Isak and Lara out of Solo, he can be quite abusive to her as well and manipulative and gaslight her at times when she's hey, this isn't right. And I think if Rykter's journey and pathway is going to be rehabilitation through a girl who's really been put through a lot and he's been super abusive to and humiliated, I think that's a wrong route. I think that sends the wrong message. It's okay. Teenagers can be single, guys. We can have a journey in which they're single and they have to heed the consequences of their choices. And another thing that sort of got me about this season with Felix is the lack of pushback. If you look at an Isak character in Solo and you look at his friends, I think it's Ylva. I'm sorry about, how I do with Scandi names. I can't get them. I'm sorry. And Kip. They're constantly pushing back. They're yo, you're out of pocket. You're just a mess. You're just coming in here like a tornado. And what I could not understand about the Rykter boy group circle is no one was pushing back. The only person that kind of pushed back was Elias. And obviously now we know why. But none of them were even towards the end, when he was making them really uncomfortable, they weren't pushing back. And I would have loved to gradually see sort of the terror part of a friend group where the guys were starting to be like, hey, you're crossing my boundary. And also kind of like a highlight of toxic masculinity, but they're also being a boundary with the guys and them being like, hey, I don't feel comfortable anymore. You don't make me feel comfortable. Stop. Like, please stop. Because I just felt like that was unrealistic. Like, he was taking it so far and no one was saying anything. And like I said, in Solo, you see the opposite. You see friends being like, you are taking it too far. You need to stop. Like, you are pushing my boundary to a point where like it literally gets physical between them because they are so upset in Solo that like Isak is just terrorizing the friend group basically through his like substance abuse issues. And so I really would have loved to see more layers on the character. Like I said, I feel like Rykter went full on Disney villain, and that actually does a disservice to the actor because I actually think the actor's pretty good and he could have done something a little bit more subtle like an Isak type of delivery in Solo where it mounts, it gradually, you can feel the tension happening, people starting to pull away, people stop answering texts, people stop hanging out with each other. Like, you can see it could have been done better and I think just a little bit more nuanced. Okay, so now let's talk about the queer couples. Okay, so let's talk about Solo first, which is Milo and Oscar. Both of these guys are dancers. I love that their story is interpreted through dance a lot, which I thought was so clever. Like, a lot of Solo, like a lot of the big moments are tied to some type of artistic delivery, whether it's music production, performances, dance performances. Like, it kind of culminates in the storyline, right? It's kind of the big plot device. It tells us something about the characters. And with Milo and Oscar, we see dance being that thing that like intrinsically they connect over and it feels like their safe place. And I just love how this builds and like how you can see them become more and more comfortable in interpreting like feelings with their bodies. And then obviously they have that end performance and it's amazing. And before that, you know, Oscar finally like tells Milo how he feels. And I really love this. This is such a hard love story because obviously we don't have the full season. Amazon, get on it. Just give these people 4 more episodes. We just need to see it. Also, like, get your marketing time on this show. It's so well written. And it literally pains me that it's on Amazon because I feel like it's going to get canceled. If it was on NRK, this would be really, really popular across Norway. But this love story, it really feels like really honest in the sense that, and it actually kind of in many ways goes parallel with Rykter, which is like someone really, really in love with someone that's like kind of not really willing to accept that. Or if they are, there's like hard terms and conditions that sort of limit the authenticity of that love story. And so I feel like Milo and Oscar, if we get the next few episodes, we're going to see how damaging that can be, right? Like, love with restrictions is like quite a damaging notion. And so we are going to get to see how far they can take that. Okay, so what I want to do is I feel like, you know, people's complaints for season 3 of Rykers is we just didn't get enough content of like Eric at all and Matthias. Like, honestly, we got barely anything, but I actually do want to talk about the conversation. I've been public about the fact that I think they backloaded all their story because the production team of Rykter has said they want to go season 5 and season 6. And I think if they leave season 4 on some type of like cliffhanger where the guys actually finally get together, and it leaves us towards like season 5 where like people are going to want to watch because they want to see the love story sort of develop. That's my notion. That's my theory. I read all your comments on Twitter and Tumblr and Reddit, and you telling me I was crazy. Let me be crazy, okay? Let me be in my feelings. But I want to actually talk about the conversation. I'm going to watch it now and I'm going to discuss my thoughts about it because I think this conversation between them, which is like one of the only really big scenes we get, is so important because it is so nuanced. I also want to say bravo to both actors because my heart broke. Like, my heart broke. So, okay, so let's put it on and let's see what happens. Okay, so if you notice, before this conversation, you know, we see them helping Olivia move in. We see them sort of having fun with Matthias's friends. So the hostility levels haven't really like escalated yet. And it all really comes down to this moment in time, right? This conversation in which they're going to talk about their feelings. And we also have to preface this by saying that Eric did walk out with Felix after, like, Felix called Matthias, all those slurs. I'm not going to say them out loud, but you know what they are. And so he has that in the back of his mind entering this conversation too, that like Eric is siding, or at least is not writing Felix off straight away. Like he is, for some reason, entertaining him. Okay, so they're going to sit down and finally have the conversation. So Eric's saying he feels it, like something's going on, right? He knows, he can sense Matthias. It's also really interesting that Eric interprets this friendship as being best friends, because I don't know if Matthias interpreted it that way. Like at no point do they sort of have that conversation when they're like, where they're both saying they're best friends. And so I found it really interesting that Eric sees their friendship this way. And I literally think the delivery Eric gives here about if it's about the kiss, I don't care, it's in the past. I think if he just would have held off saying that for like an extra minute, we would have got Matthias finally say what he wanted to, because you could tell he was thinking about it. Like, and like, oh my God, it kills me because Matthias's face falls in that moment for a second, and you could feel like Eric doesn't even know he basically just stuck a dagger in this man's heart, but he has no like sense of it, because he just doesn't, neither of them really knows where they stand. So they're just like kind of vomiting words, and those words happen to be like damaging one another. It's also, when he sort of undermines the kiss by saying they were drinking, it also just, it hurts. Like, it hurts watching this, because I know that Matthias is like dying inside. And, when he says just to forget about it, it's just that it's really hard, because this is such a huge moment for Matthias. He's never kissed a boy before. He's never accepted this feeling. And he did this with Eric. And I know Eric has no idea the like amount of like wherewithal and like courage it took for Matthias to do that. And he has no idea that it wasn't just like, I'm drunk, it's a kiss. And no, he doesn't realize it's like a massive milestone in Matthias's like identity in his life. And he's just undermining it with every sentence coming out of his mouth. And it's gut wrenching. I will say Eric should have left in this moment when he says to leave, because Matthias can sense it. You ever have that feeling when you know you're about to blow? And he knows it too. He knows he's about to blow. And I actually think it's really interesting that I feel like Eric doesn't consciously know that he's really in tune with like the intonation of Matthias' voice when he's upset or he's disappointed or he's happy. Because he immediately starts sort of like overcompensating for what he feels is like distance and the coldness that Matthias is demonstrating, and he's saying like, you're my best friend, I care about you a lot. Like he immediately starts overcompensating, and I feel like subconsciously he knows something is really wrong, like, and the next things that are going to come out of Matthias' mouth could really sort of shift the friendship. Yes, Eric, you cannot be friends with Felix and be friends with Matthias. He literally just called him the F word and outed him in front of everyone. No, you can't be friends. Like, no. Like, this is a hard line. Here's the thing, though. Matthias has a point. Like, he stood up for Eric so many times. He ate so much shit for this kid. So much shit from Felix and his friends. And then Eric's just kind of like, sorry, bestie, I can't. Like, what? Felix has never even been nice to you. You have like 2 good months in the summer and you write it all off. This is what I mean when like you're a teenager, you don't care if people are like evil to you. You're just kind of like, it's fine. But I totally agree with Matthias. You can't have both. It's true. Like, you can't just be best friends again. You can't like rock with someone that openly attacks you, like openly is hostile to you, openly just is so nasty to you, starts rumors, and then be like, you can't rock with them and be my friend. Like, I totally side with Matthias here. Like, you cannot rock with that person and be my friend. It's, some people are like, oh, it's immature to be like, no, it's that person or me. No, it's that person or me. Particularly when it's a person that's literally yelling out slurs and outing him in front of everyone and calling him horrible names. Like, yes, it's that person or me. It's a very simple thing. You know what I love about this scene too is how Matthias is like almost like stumbling on the words of like, you won't be in my life anymore, just go away. Like you can tell he's like angry and a part of him kind of wants to stop, but he's so mad that he's like, I can't stop. Like you have taken it too far. And Eric just doesn't know how to. It really hurts me when Eric like sort of does that like inhale when Matthias says like, I don't want you in my life anymore. You can tell how like hard that was for him. Like, because I truly, one thing that we kind of learn about Eric in this season, and I will say this is kind of why I'm frustrated with this season, because it didn't happen until like the last 4 episodes, is that Eric doesn't really have an identity that is anything more than trying to like fit in or mold himself to other people's perception. He has no things that he's kind of standing on for himself. It's like he just sort of piggybacks and like hooks onto another friend group and then molds his character out of that. Or, he's friends with Matthias and he molds into that. And like he almost has no like identity yet, and he's trying to like figure it out. And I thought it was really interesting when he says to Olivia, like, he just doesn't want to be the center of attention. Like he's been that before. He doesn't want to be the center of attention, particularly for like criticism or negativity. And for me, that tells me he would rather be uniformed and sort of not stand out in the crowd than do something that maybe feels right to him in his heart, but he can't take the criticism. Like he just can't deal with that. And it kind of leads him to why he's so unlikable in season 3. He has no backbone. He has no self-awareness, no morals for himself. They are just collectively everyone's sort of morals in the friend group, the guy group. And the only time he actually does demonstrate any sense of like self-preservation, any of his own opinions, is with Olivia when he chooses to befriend her, and then they're together and they sleep together and everything seems okay, and he even likes her. And then as soon as he hears from the guys and gossip and rumors, his whole perception of her changes, and now he doesn't want to be seen with her in public. He doesn't really respect her anymore, and like he is just like, oh yeah, that didn't happen. And she's basically like his dirty secret. And once again, none of those ideas were there until he hears criticism from someone else. Like I said, he is someone that just shapes himself based on other people. He has no identity outside of that, and hence why he's so unlikable. Because one thing that I think happened in season 3 for Matthias is he has a very clear identity. Matthias just has a very clear identity. He knows who he is now, or he's getting a grapple of it. Like he knows that like he probably does like guys. He knows that he doesn't want to go to college. He doesn't want to like go, to Bergen or whatever, Oslo, and go to school. He doesn't want to do that. He is starting to really sort of carve out who he is, things about his sexuality, things about his goals, standing up to his parents, like choosing, like really making decisions about the people you surround yourself with and give access to your energy, particularly with friends, like cutting people off and being like, hey, you don't do me any favors. If anything, you bring drama into my life and you hurt me, so I don't want you in my life. And he's really sort of really demonstrating a huge sense of self, where Eric is like the opposite in this season, and he's getting more lost, like more and more lost. And like a lot of people said, I don't feel like I know Eric. And I said, I kind of think, yeah, like that's kind of the point of this season. Like we don't know Eric. He literally has no personal like character traits that he doesn't just like literally create to appease other people, and a perception of him. Like I don't think he knows if he likes Matthias or even likes guys or girls, because he doesn't ask himself questions. Like I don't think he even knows how to cut off friends, because he's just kind of like happy he has some, even if they're really toxic. And like I don't think he knows how to deal with like liking someone without it being like acquiesced by other people, and other people being like, yeah, that person's so awesome. Because God forbid, like if a person has a negative point of view on the person you like, he's just going to be like, yeah, I'm going to dump him for sure. He has no sense of self. So it's going to be interesting in season 4, because I'm a big believer Matthias and Eric are endgame. I'm sorry, they are endgame. I don't care what you all think. Also, we saw that clip for the season 4 trailer, but I want to see, how does Eric become someone that's worthy of being with Matthias, because Matthias is growing at this incredibly rapid rate of and really showing and demonstrating who he is and who he's gonna be as an adult. And Eric, in my sense, is getting more and more lost. Like, he just doesn't know who he is at all. And obviously the end of the season, we're left with a situation that really poses an adult situation where it's like, you know, effed around and you found out now, and now things are gonna get really real, and we're gonna have to see who you really are, because it's all or nothing. If you screw this up, your life is going to have serious ramifications given to what happens at the end of the season. So we will see. That's my wrap up for season 3 of Rykter. I'm not even going to talk about Sinove and Thea, because we didn't really talk about them in season 3. Like, the following around who's the stalker narrative, like, whatever. Like, I just feel like, also, can we wrap up Sinove's story? Like, I feel like we've been here for 3 seasons. What is going on? Like, and Thea, I really hope the writers do not pair her with Felix, as I think he is really abusive and there's too much growth he needs to even be a viable partner to anyone, let alone a good partner to himself. So I feel like they can have friendships, and maybe if they do get season 5 and 6, maybe they get together way at the end. But I don't think I want to see that pairing. Like, Thea's gone through a lot, and honestly, she's already had an abusive man in her life, aka her father. She doesn't need any more abusive men in her life. So that's my wrap up for season 3. Guys, go watch Solo, please, so we can get the last 4 episodes of that season. Amazon, get it together. Like, we need you to market the show better. Norway's killing it in the young adult series front. And yeah, I'm going to see you back for Rykter season 4. We think we're going to get it at the end of 2024, but we might get it at the beginning of 2025. So excited for this, guys. So take care. See ya. Bye.